Welcome everybody. Today is Thursday, October 21st, and we are here for a Lunch Function 101, courtesy of the Tech Savannah community, which is Savannah's community of technologists and designers and creative innovators who come together to connect, and they put on this Lunch Function 101 every month. I'm gonna kick it over to Yvonne Dufault, who is going to lead this meeting today and introduce our speaker, Derwin Roland.
Hello, I am Yvonne Dufault. I'm one of the co-founders of Tech SAV. Thank you to the Creative Coast for co-sponsoring and organizing everything today. We're really excited to have Derwin Roland, who is a Agile leader, transformation leader, and expert. He's going to be talking about the Agile process. And just a little bit about him, and I am reading this directly from his LinkedIn page, but he works for NCR Corporation, driving the lean Agile transformation for the organization while leading a team of Agile coaches. So really looking forward to hearing more about that. It applies to everyone, which is great. So with that, I will turn it over to Derwin. And let's see, I think the screen sharing, I think you can choose to share.
Yes, yes, okay. Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, let me go ahead and share.
Yep, we can see it. Perfect.
Okay, and let me make it full screen. There we go. Is that good?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, first let me thank Kate and Jen from Creative Coast. Thank you so much for co-hosting this along, and thank you, Yvonne, as well. It's a privilege and an honor to speak to everybody today, and been really excited about this because actually this is content. This is brand new content. I have not shared this with anybody yet, and so I customized it for today's meetup, and I wanted to be able to address anybody from any type of background. Doesn't have to be technical or software development. So, and the purpose today is really to talk about where are we with Agile. We've been, Agile's been around. It's been around since really 2001, but the remnants really of Agile has been around since the 50s. I mean, some of the principles have, but really since the Agile Manifesto was created in 2001 by a group of software developers in Utah. They just went off on a retreat and said, we've got to be able to find a way to build software better. And the old traditional way was waterfall and doing it in very long cycles. And quality was bad, customers were not happy. So they created this thing called the Agile Manifesto, and really it's just a guiding set of principles to working better together. So it's been around a while, and it's really most companies are doing it today. And I was in Midtown recently in Atlanta in our building, and just looking around, I look at over at Coke, I can see the Coke building. They're doing it. Norfolk Southern's doing it. Southern companies doing it. Delta's doing it. I mean, all the big companies and mid and small size companies are going through this Agile, what we call transformation. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But what I wanted to do for you guys today is not only answer the question, is it a silver bullet? That we'll answer some other questions as well, but just kind of give you a landscape view of where we are today. Is it real? Is it working? Is it not working? Is it for everybody? So we'll talk through some of those things. So let's dive in. So guys, I'm going to talk for probably 35 minutes. Yvonne's going to kind of monitor any questions in the chat, I guess, and feel free to jump in. I'd like to have it be very conversational and not me just talking and rambling, for 35 minutes. But and then we'll have some quick Q&A time at the end as well, and get everybody back to your meetings if you have meetings at 1 o'clock. So all right, let's dive in. So here's the which is 3 main sections. Going to talk about just what is Agile, a little bit about an overview there, and then trends in the Agile community, and then this term called business agility. What does that mean? All right, so just a little bit about me. Been in IT my whole career, 8 years doing Agile, and I've held different roles. I've been in sales, engineering, management, now an Agile coach. Been with NCR a little over 2 years. Some stuff about me there. I'm married with kids. I enjoy sports, tennis, hiking, motorcycling. A couple fun facts is I am a tennis teaching pro, so I teach tennis. I haven't been able to do that much this year. And then I also, and most of you guys probably younger than me, but I worked on the space shuttle back in the 80s, which was really cool. This was my first real job. So here's a disclaimer. there could be a barking interruption at any time. Now we're trying to control it. I've asked my wife to help, but that's my Bernese Mountain Dog, Lily. And she is, where is she? She's resting comfortably behind me right now. But as long as Amazon and UPS stay away for the next hour, we will be good and there will be no barking. So, okay. All right, let's talk a little bit about Agile in a nutshell. So if you're not familiar with Agile, we're gonna just give you kind of an overview. If you ask 10 different people, you probably get 10 different answers of what Agile is. Especially if you ask executives, what is Agile? They're probably going to say, well, it's a way we deliver software, or it's a methodology, or it's a platform, or a framework. Well, some of that's true, but most of that's not true. Really, it's built on this Agile manifesto that I mentioned earlier from 2001, and it's basically 4 values and 12 principles. And if you look over these, I would find it surprising if most people didn't agree that these are good things. You know, the first one is people over processes. What do we value most? We do value processes, but we value people more. And then number 2, working software. And I'm going to fill in the blank here for you guys that are maybe not in technology, but working software over creating all this documentation and then trying to implement software. It's a time thing there. And then working with the customer over a constant contract negotiation, having very close communication with the customer. And when they want something to change, then we pivot and we change and we make those requests happen for them. And then the next one, and I've got a couple slides on this, responding to change over following a plan. So Agile is all about being adaptable. You know, when the customer says, you know, I don't want that, I want this, then we can quickly shift our priorities and make that change happen versus following a plan step by step. Because once you follow a plan all the way to the end and you find out that that's not what the customer wanted, that's not a good thing. I'm not going to go through all the 12 principles, but it's, you know, some of the things that jump out to me here is trust, working together, you know, excellence, self-organizing. These are all, to me, very, very good things. Now, I'm going to fill in the blanks here because if you would overlay this with HR, with marketing, with sales, with whatever it might be, finance, then fill in the blank for what working means to you. For people like me, Carl, and I see Mariano on the call, working software is important to us. Let me take that back. I used to work with Mariano and Carl, and they actually work in the hotel industry. So for them, it would be working hotels, working hotel rooms, no technology whatsoever. So we used, when I was with IHG, we used Agile and Scrum and Kanban to build hotel rooms out, design. On our teams, we had, and they do today, interior designers, building architects. Those type of people were on the teams and working in this manner. So whatever it might be, it could be HR, working HR processes, working recruiting, working whatever it might be, hiring process, whatever it might be. Okay. Again, jump in at any time, guys, or post a question in the chat window. So what is Agile really, besides the four values, 12 principles? So really all it is, guys, just to simplify it, it's just a way of working that brings team members together for a common goal or vision. That's really all it is. And here's what it tries to do. And I can relate to this working, in multiple companies over my career. We had silo issues, silos of information. So what Agile tries to do is break down these silos and have communication flowing back and forth together, having people working more closely together. And it ties in really well with number 3, they're increasing transparency and visibility. What we try to do is make all of our work visible so there's no surprises. And it also helps when people need help, it's readily available. You know what's going on, you know what work is being done. Number 2 is actually interesting. As we answer that question, is Agile a silver bullet? Exposes organizational issues. That's pretty interesting. How does it do that? Well, I think number 3 kind of helps number 2. When you have transparency and visibility, all these issues begin to bubble up. Especially when you bring a team together and you're trying to move fast and get to market faster, all kind of issues bubble up. We see it every day. But there's mechanisms in place in the framework that we use to address those issues and to constantly improve on those. Number 4 is huge, psychologically safe environment. What do we mean by that? That's an environment where people feel free to speak up. They feel trusted, or they can trust other people on the team. This is a tough one. It's one that we constantly have to go after. Even today, I'm working with teams I've been with 2 years, and people won't speak up. They're afraid that they will be reprimanded. They're going to be looked down upon. They may be judged on their performance review. We've got to break that, guys, because we've got to get to a point where people feel free, because what's being held back is the creativity and the innovation. If we don't hear from those folks, these are smart people. We need to hear from them. The last 2, focus on delivering value frequently. That doesn't matter what business you're in, whether you're in technology or not. We want to deliver value frequently to our customers because the market is moving fast. We were talking about it before we got started. The world the world is going to change like we've never seen it before, right? Due to what we've gone through with COVID, right? I mean, businesses have gone out of business, right? So it's even more important now for companies to really focus on their customers and deliver value frequently, whatever that value is, whether it's software, if it's not software. And then the big one here to me is reduce risk. Everything we do in Agile is trying to reduce the risk for our company and for our stakeholders by building frequently and having quick feedback from our customers. That reduces risk. Okay, all right, here's 2 words here, Agile Transformation. And you'll hear this a lot. You'll hear digital transformation as well. And I think the term has been around so long that it's got kind of a negative connotation now. One, because many of them have failed and are failing today. I've seen it happen. And the whole question here is, should we start small? But when you say transformation, you're almost thinking about a lift and shift, this huge effort that's got to happen, within, 6 months or a year. It just doesn't happen that way. Agile, becoming Agile is a journey. It's not a big bang transformation. And when you do this, when you do drastic change, you get the most resistance. And probably you guys who've been involved in it, you can attest to that. There's resistance. I have resistance today. And I've been with these teams for a couple of years. They just don't want to change. They don't want to adapt. They've done it the same way all these years, and they don't see the benefit. So we almost have to prove it to them. I can tell you, when I first started with NCR, a gentleman came up to me. He's been with the company 25 years. He goes, Agile doesn't work for us. I don't like it. And you know what? He's become one of the believers. Over time, he's seen the value, and that's up to us as coaches and leaders to show that value. And these large initiatives, they sound too much like a waterfall. Waterfall being a software development process that can take months, even years to come to a final product. And I used to be in that environment, and we used to deliver, every 18 months to our customers, and it was poor quality, and it was the wrong product, and it was just not very good. So Agile really transformed the way I work 8 years ago when I was at Cisco Systems. And Agile is something you are, not something you do. A lot of people will spin up teams and start working and call themselves Agile, and that's far from the truth. It's really a mindset and a mind shift. Let's talk about change for a little bit. Let me just poll real quick. Who likes change, or who doesn't like change? Anybody like change? Yeah, sort of, kind of.
It depends. I think I'm going to embrace it, me personally.
Yeah. I heard it depends. Was that who was that?
Yeah, that was me.
Hey,
it
Tom.
Depends. Hey, man.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it depends. I personally like change. I probably like change too much. I don't know if I get bored or what. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I need help with that therapy. I don't know, but I think the bottom line here, and I don't have facts to back any of this up really, but from what I've seen, we don't want change, but I think we need change, especially now. We've been forced to change our ways of working, right? We've been forced to change a lot of things because of COVID. We didn't like it, right? But maybe on the back end, we'll maybe see some good things, maybe. We don't want I think this might be true. We don't want the pain of change, but we like the results of change. Change can be painful, but I think on the back end, there can be some good things. I see change as an opportunity to grow and experience new things. One thing we know is change is inevitable, right? Companies are constantly changing. Right now at NCR, we're going through we're shifting teams, we're shifting focus. We're planning for 2021. There's going to be a lot of change, but the way we position it as leaders is this is an opportunity for us to go to market faster, to gain more customers, right? And even for personal growth on people on the teams. One more slide on change, a few more thoughts is change makes you more flexible and adaptable. I think that's true. Again, it forces you to do it. We've had to do it as a world. You learn to embrace chaos in a way that seems foreign. It prepares you for that next challenge. When you've been through some change, the next change is no big deal. You can handle it, right? And you're armed with confidence that you can walk through an uncomfortable situation. Okay, so no matter what industry you're in, no matter what company you work for, when you focus on becoming agile, there's 5 key areas. Obviously, we want to focus on our customer and the customer experience, whatever it might be. The second one, operational agility, that's just talking about best practices and processes, having those in place to support what you're trying to do for your customer. Obviously, culture and leadership goes without saying. Workforce enablement, what do we mean by that? That's talking about, you'll hear a lot in Agile circles, self-managed teams, self-organized teams. That's foreign to a lot of people, especially people that came from a top-down command and control management approach, where you're told what to do. Your performance is based on that. And whereas in the Agile world, we're trying to push the decision making down to the teams. Now you may say, well, where does managers fit in if that happens? And I was not a victim. I don't. That's not the right word. It was an opportunity for me. I was in middle management when we adopted Agile at Cisco, and we were given the opportunity to serve in an Agile role. And what we did is we flattened the organization, and managers took on different roles. Now we still needed a couple HR managers, right, to provide training, help with the career growth training, etc. But Agile works best when you can flatten the levels of the organization. Now that's not easy for a lot of companies, especially big companies like my company, NCR. And then we all want, no matter what industry we're in, we want to take advantage of our digital technology, right? Where it's mobile app, where there's website, where it's any of the digital opportunities we have, digital marketing, etc. Okay, common mistakes that people have moving into an Agile mindset. The organization doesn't have alignment. You've got leaders are not on the same page with directors and middle managers and even with staff. Not investing in a great coach to show them the way. Guys, it's tough. It's tough to do this if you don't have somebody who's already done it before. We had a great coach in my first Agile transformation, and it was a huge success. And he guided us the whole way through. Create teams, hold ceremonies, and calling it Agile. That's a good start, but it's not the end result. You don't become Agile by just doing those things. That's the mechanics of it. Not considering scaling options as your company grows. How do we build upon this? How do we make it more visible at the program level, at the executive level? How about this one? How many of us have seen this? Reverting to older bad habits when things don't go as planned. Man, that's the first thing that happens is, the team will want to, let's go back the way we did it. That's the way we always did it, right? And that's not always a good thing. And probably the most important one on this screen to me, guys, is not investing in team building. In my first Agile transformation, we invested in team building a lot. And that's building that trust and that psychological safety. Really, really huge going into a movement, a transformation like this. Okay, yep, go ahead.
Sorry, for the team building, was there particular exercises that you liked over others?
Yeah, Chris, absolutely. A lot of them were, they would give us a project to do, and it forced us to collaborate, and it forced us to self-organize. So we had, somebody that would take the lead. We would have we would kind of define roles in that project, and this was just for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And we would have to, take the project as far as we could go in that limited amount of time. But what it did is it created communication on the team. We self-organized to create roles. One was building a spaghetti pyramid, if you can picture that. And they only give you some tape and some other things, and you had to build it as high as you could. There's other games. There's a lot of games that are available to build that teamwork and show how working together is better. So, but yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for that.
Okay.
All right, can we pause if we want to? Let's pause right there before we get into the business trends. Yvonne, do we have any questions, or anybody have any questions or comments?
The team building, I heard of a little effort from one of the podcasts I follow, and I tried it with my teams, and I was floored by how well it went. We played Jenga, but the idea was first play Jenga the way you normally play Jenga. Everybody plays on themselves. The tower falls completely quick. Everybody's, trying to do the best for themselves. But then you play the second game and you play as a team. And it's amazing how much different the outcome is when you have your team trying to build the Jenga tower collectively as a team. And so that was a pretty fun exercise. Both my teams really enjoyed it. So, and it's a pretty cheap, and, spend an hour doing it. And I got a lot of benefit from it. So it was good.
Yeah, and the other thing it does, Tom, is it helps build relationships too. I mean, it really does when you do those things together. Yep. Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, so what I want to do is show you a little bit of data so I was able to participate on a panel earlier this year for the 14th annual State of Agile report produced by digital.ai. And it was really cool to see the data. And this was coming from around the world, multiple industries, multiple roles contributing to this data. So just have a few slides. I just want to share a little bit of data with you on what's trending. So number one, culture is still a thing. It's one of the highest ranked challenges. We've already talked about it, culture being super important, really in any workspace, right? But we focus on it when we move to an agile mindset. Scrum is one of the frameworks up under Agile. Scrum, Kanban, there's a lot of different ones, but Scrum is the most widely used. SAFe is Scaled Agile Framework. It is the most used scaling framework. There's others out there as well, but SAFe has really the market on it. And again, it allows you to scale beyond the team level up to a program level, portfolio level, up to the executive level. And then Agile empowers adaptability and visibility. We've already talked a little bit about that as well, and the importance of both of those. So is Agile only for software development teams? Well, we've already talked about that. Mariano and Carl, they use it to build hotels, but it can be used in any area. As you can see here, software development, yeah, it's leading the pack here, but look where IT is. Now, you may ask, what's the difference between software development and IT? So IT, I think, is more the back-end services. You've got the tools, you've got the hardware, the VMs, all the supporting things that an organization needs, right, for email or whatever it might be. But it's surprising to see it's moving that fast, 26% in IT. One effort we're doing at NCR is we just created a global Agile guild where we're bringing IT and software development together and focus together on moving Agile forward in our company. But as you can see, operations, marketing, HR, sales, they're all beginning to get a hold of this. Actually, HR, I believe Deloitte has marketed Agile HR a few years ago. So again, overlaying the values and principles in HR, and it's no different. It's just teams organized to work better together. That's really all it is, and they apply it to whatever they need to do. The benefits of adopting Agile, again, the top two is managing changing priorities, being able to pivot quickly when you get a customer request in, being able to shift and turn and make those. And usually in Scrum, we work in 2-week sprints. It could be other time frames, but it gives us time to focus on a feature, but it also gives us the ability to adapt and change if a change comes in. Project visibility, we talked about that. And then you can go on down here. Look where team morale is. Team morale is right there at 59%. Risk, we talked about risk is at 51%. So those are the things that are the highest scoring benefits on this survey. Time to market as well. This is a big one too, y'all. Business IT alignment. In the past, it's been kind of an us and them kind of situation. You know, that's the business. We're R&D, but we've got to get past that and become one team. When I talk to my organization, I talk to us as a business. We are all business. Even software developers, you are the business. You know, you just have a different role, but we are all one business. Challenges to scaling Agile, you know, again, getting above the team level. Again, resistance to change was leading the pack there. Not enough leadership participation. So that's really important. You know, as I've interviewed over the years, the first question I ask before we even go down the interview path is the executive team bought in? You know, if they're not, I'm not going to go there. It's a waste of effort because it's not going to succeed. You got to have leadership buy-in, and more than just engagement and support, total engagement is what we're looking for here. So anything else jump out here? Again, culture jumps out to me. Insufficient training. Yeah. But resistance to change, big one. Okay, last section, guys, and I'm right on time, it looks like, but kind of talking about the bottom line. What does all this mean? So is Agile making a cultural difference? I would say yes to that. And if you guys disagree, anybody on the call disagree, please let me know. But what I see is staff is collaborating more and communicating better, no doubt. And we have more quick wins and team celebrations, or opportunities for those anyway, because we're working in these short cycles of time, 2-week increments, 2-week cycles of work that we're delivering to our customer. Individualism is replaced by teamwork. Now, this sounds great, but there's some complications here because of performance reviews. It's like, well, how am I going to get measured if we're working as a team and we're being measured by a team? I can tell you that HR has not figured that out yet. I haven't figured that out yet either. I know HR is trying a lot of different things with this. It seems like we go to a different system every year, but we still, that's a work in progress. I think teams are more engaged when they're working closely together with the customer. See, teams don't want to be order takers. I talked to a UX design team recently, and they don't want to be order takers. You know, they want to work collaboratively with the customer so that they understand the needs, so they can get quick feedback, and to know that they're making a difference. My team is the same way. I'm part of payments, NCR Payments, and you know, my team, you know, right now we're working with Petco, and it's like, you know, my team wants to know how Petco is doing. How is Petco doing with our rollout? They want to feel that, because in that way they'll be more engaged. If they don't have that, they're going to just do their 8 hours, do their work, and they're not going to be totally engaged. So that's really important. So we've got to, and I can tell you, it's hard to bridge that gap because we have so many customers. You can't work that closely with all of them, but we've got to do a better job there of connecting our teams to our customers. All right, this is a funny slide, guys. So the one on the left, the picture on the left is, for me, it reminds me of my waterfall days. And when we had project meetings, we had status meetings, and look at the reaction on the faces. Okay, one guy's asleep, one lady's almost going to sleep. There's some friction between the lead guy there and the guy on the left. The lead guy's kind of like driving this. It's like he's command and control. He's like, or he's just boring them to death. But one guy's really like doesn't understand what he's seeing there. But I can tell you guys, in the Agile world, we don't have these type of meetings anymore. Now, will I say that it's all, you know, sunshine and, you know, over here on the right, like it conveys? It's not. We have good conflict, healthy conflict, and there is such a thing. I have a whole nother teaching on that, but training on that, but we have healthy conflict. We have healthy discussions, and it's where creativity and innovation is bred. Over on the left, it's not very productive. Usually you come out of those meetings, it's like, why did we waste an hour? There's no action items. We didn't decide on anything. But in Agile ceremonies, and meetings, they're purpose driven. Everyone has a purpose. They don't always go as planned, but most of the time they do, because we set the expectation. To me, that's huge. That's a huge savings of time. Okay, so when does Agile succeed? We've already mentioned this a little bit. When you have leadership engagement, not just hey, I'll support you, go do it, or say I've bought in. We need them engaged. And what does that look like? It can look like, it can be, having them involved in some of the ceremonies, or having reporting procedure up to them, having training sessions with them, having them speak the same language we do. All right, so this is really important, everybody. This is huge. When you're going through an Agile journey, I'm gonna start calling it an Agile journey, I think. So there's three entities here. There's the organizational structure, which is the systems circle over here. And in the best practices and processes, it's the practices, and then culture. So a lot of people get this backwards. They try to start with culture. Oh, I'm going to change my culture, and then I'm going to implement Agile. It will not work, because if you don't have the underlying organizational structure and best practices in place, it's not going to work. So the recommended way of doing it is building your organizational structure from the beginning, whatever that looks like, creating the roles, well-defined roles, even if you have to flatten the organization somewhat because you have too many layers of management. Again, we're trying to push decision-making and self-management to the team level. That is foreign to a lot of people, especially people that come from a command and control type of environment. I was actually playing tennis the other night, and we were playing this guy, and we were just chatting, afterwards, and he was a manager at this company, and I said, "How are you handling working remote?" And he said, "It's going okay." He said, "I don't like, being away from my team because I can't give them things to do." And I'm like, I don't think I want to work for that guy, because he's that's old school. That's not empowering, your team to be, and trust your team, So that came out really clear to me. But then after you set up your organizational structure, you put in some best practices and processes in place. Now, you don't want to overdo it, right? These things will grow over time, they will mature over time, but you want to get some basics in place. And then you begin to work on the culture, and the culture will evolve out of that. But you can't go after culture at the beginning. It won't work. All right, where does it fail? We've already talked about number one, you've got to have leadership engagement. Lack of proper training and coaching, we've talked about that as well. Not having well-defined roles. There's a couple of roles in technology that get lost. The manager is one, project manager is another one. That's a big one. Project managers really don't know where they fit. There's a natural progression to like a scrum master role, who's a facilitator for the team ceremonies and a coach for the team, or even a product owner type of role. Not measuring and showing improvement. I'm a big believer you can't improve what you can't measure. So we're big on metrics in the Agile world. And then here's the other one we talked about, not staying the course, going back to bad habits. Not a good thing. All right, last section, guys, and we can open it up for some conversation. But so what is this thing, business agility? So it's really what it is. It's the ability to thrive in a digital age, responding to market changes, right? But it's across the whole enterprise. I'll tell you, I went out, I took a risk recently, and Agile is about taking a calculated risk. Fail fast. You'll hear us say fail fast, learn from it and improve. So I set up a training session recently on lean Agile principles. Lean being a manufacturing term about working efficiently and not waste and eliminating waste. And that's again in a whole nother training. But so I did a training on lean Agile principles, and I hit NCR Payments all 540 people. I said, okay, whoever comes, fine. I don't care. I just want to get it out to as many people as I can. And I had a salesperson email me. He goes, "What's this all about?" And I go, "Well," I explained it to him. He goes, "No, I think I'll pass." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." So my point was, what we're talking about today is for every aspect of the business. It's even, you can apply some of this stuff even to your personal life as well. As you can see, Carl, his background is a Kanban board of sticky Post-it notes. So business agility requires that everyone involved is involved. So we're talking about development, ops, sales, marketing, finance, support, compliance, security, everybody. I didn't put HR on here, HR as well. I'm hoping through this global guild that we created, this community of practice we created at NCR, that we will get some exposure to these other areas of the business so that we can help them apply some of these principles, because I think it'll really help them. Again, it's all about just creating, building teams and having focus and having quick feedback and quick to market, faster to market. All right, so this is, again, I mentioned Agile for HR from Deloitte, but if you look on the left, it's pretty much everything we've already talked about today. It's really a lot of the same things: ways of working, embracing the mindset, value-driven change. All of that's the same. It's generic. You can apply it across any business. But over on the right, it kind of gives some examples of what HR could do with this. How can they recruit differently? How can they hire differently? How many of you have gone to work for a company and your laptop didn't arrive till a week later? I know IT has to be involved in that and so forth, but I mean, that's a process improvement change that we're always looking to do. I really hadn't talked about that a lot, but Agilists are all about constant improvement, continuous improvement, day to day, week to week, looking for ways to improve. So this can be applied across any facet of the business. Okay, so why be agile? So the future's unpredictable. Boy, we know that more than ever now, right? The world is changing. Everything's changing faster. Everything's wanting to move quicker. I think coming out of COVID, it's going to be even more competitive, guys. Companies we may look at companies consolidating again. You know how companies, they split off and they consolidate. It's kind of a cycle. Who knows what 2021 looks like, but so we've got to position our businesses and our teams to be, be ready for anything that might come our way. Adaptable, adapt faster, deliver more frequently, customer focused. Okay, so is Agile the silver bullet? That's the question we had from the beginning. And I'm going to use Tom's response and say it depends. I've learned that as an Agile coach. I use this a lot. It depends on the situation. I'm not a Agile purist that has, hey, you got to do it this way, this way, this way. I give people options. And so in this one, it depends. It depends on your business, depends on what you want to do. I think it is a silver bullet 90% of the time. Sometimes you have to go back to a long delivery cycle, maybe, depending on what it is. So I think in most cases, it can be a silver bullet. All right, last couple slides, guys. When does Agile work best? When we have a clear vision. Project scope is not known in its entirety. We don't have to know everything up front to get started. The requirements are evolving. We're quick to adapt. Changes are expected. Scope is flexible. Small and frequent deliveries, and then our customers are highly involved. I can't stress that enough as well. All right, my summary is I believe Agile is alive and well. I believe it's used, I coach and mentor college students at our local college here in Lawrenceville. And I tell them, guys, what you're investing in here with us, with this training is so cool, because I would say 95% of technical companies are using Agile or trying to get there. Transformation, it's not easy. We've talked about that today, not just for software development. Benefits are well documented, lots of case studies, a lot of success stories. Not always a silver bullet, but I think most of the time it is. So with that, I want to thank you guys for attending. I hope you learned a little bit. I really constructed the presentation to benefit a lot of different people, a lot of different areas. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let's open the floor. We've got 20 minutes, a little bit less, but any comments, questions? Any of this resonate with you all? I know I didn't get introductions from people like Chris, who I don't know that what your backgrounds are, but what do you guys think?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm a recruiter actually for kind of enterprise organizations. So one of ours is going through an Agile transformation right now. So when you're talking about having high level buy-in, how does that happen? Because in my mind, when I'm talking to Agile coaches, I think isn't that part of what that job would be is to try to get that buy-in. But now I'm hearing you kind of say, well, if they're not in, then I don't want to go there. And I've heard that before. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, and that was just kind of a personal decision I've made, because it's so difficult when you're going in and they've maybe potentially already started and leadership isn't bought in. It's tough to get to that level, right? It's tough to get that buy-in. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it does take an effort, right? And you've got to get their time, and here's the thing. Here's what executives, and you guys, some of you guys know this. Executives, to them, is the bottom line, right? They want to know how much it's going to cost me, what's the benefits of it, what's the value, right? So you've got to be able to communicate that and convince them it's the right thing to do. We're hoping, what we're seeing though in the industry is, executives are seeing it, right? Other companies are doing it, they're being successful at it, and word gets around. Executives talk to executives. So yeah, I think just, Laura, in this at this point in my career, is such a it is a challenge. And even in my company today, I feel like, and I know I do have a colleague on today, but I think Lennox will agree with me. We have great leadership. I have the best leadership I've ever had, and they support us. But they said, Derwin, go make it happen. We support you. Go do it. I like that. But I don't like that either, because when things go bad, then I'm on an island, right? I'm on an island by myself. I don't have their engagement, right? I want their engagement. I want them to be right there with me when things go bad, right? So
yeah, cool.
Hey, Lennox, I think your mic is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. My name is Lennox. I'm working with Derwin at NCR. And just to kind of piggyback off of what I've actually seen so far, when it comes to doing agile transformation in companies, a lot of executives will like the idea of going agile, but they never see it for themselves. They're like, okay, guys, go ahead and you guys get it done. But I think the buying that Derwin is talking about, they may probably buying like, oh yeah, we could do this. It's a silver bullet, but they don't see in terms of the buying for themselves or the role that they play. For some reason, a lot of leadership for the first time thinking agile is for everyone else besides them. And I think that is where the issue comes in. When you talk about buying, yeah, they will have buying because they will sign the check, okay, go get it done. But then at the same time, I think we kind of more or less trying to figure out how much of a buying, yeah, you could sign the check. That not necessarily creates a buying. A buying is, are you willing to, follow the standards, the procedures, everything else that, from the lowest man on the totem pole is following. So I think that's the level of buying that I think Derwin is talking about at that level. Not sure that makes sense.
That's a really good point.
Okay.
Thanks, Liz.
Hey, Derwin. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mario. Yes.
Really good presentation, by the way. Great information all the way around. I appreciate it. I do have one question that is not covered on this, and I wonder if at some point in time, either you or anybody else could cover it, is what is the perceived monetary cost of an agile transformation in a small, medium, and large size company? I personally cannot seem to find much detail about that, obviously, but it seems that at times, and this is why I logged into the course, I appreciate you sharing it, it was because is it the silver bullet, right? And usually agile is perceived as that, and then on top of that, it's like, yeah, you're going to get your results fast and you're going to be there quick and you can pivot and you can change and all the good things. But there's a cost associated to it that you made a phenomenal point about flattening the organization. But all those changes and bringing on board a few key people that are going to help with the transformation involves cost. So, and the training and the speed to market at the beginning is a slow ramp up at times. So is there any studies, any information about that that are properly documented, like, for example, the benefits, like you were talking about in percentages? Is there anything available in that sense?
Yeah, I don't know right offhand, Mariano, but that's a great point because, you have to invest in time and training and here's the other thing too, is if you've got an existing business, how do you balance, still delivering what you've got to deliver and still trying to make this transformation? How do you do that? It's difficult to balance that out. because you've got to still deliver to your customers while you're still trying to transform your organization. So I don't know. I don't have any things, because I've often wondered about the cost of it. And then on the flip side of that, Mariano, too, is a lot of people say, well, is Agile going to save you money? I don't think there's any good research out there that says it's going to save my company. Is it cheaper to do? I haven't seen that. So I don't know, but that's a good point. Good thing that we can go research. But I don't have any good data right now.
Good question. I really love the presentation. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So I have a quick question that might seem silly. My experience with Agile has always only been in the software development process, like sprints and stuff. So, you're talking about Agile at a much higher kind of organization level. Like, what does that actually mean to kind of go Agile? Like, what does that process look like for an organization? Yeah, obviously, like, that's a big question, but just give me like the 4-step, like kind of the how-to process. Like, what does that mean for an organization?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Yvonne. So yeah, obviously, you start out at the team level and doing the sprints and getting the teams used to sprinting like that. And at some point, though, leadership is going to want to know, well, how is what's happening at the team level affecting our ability to deliver products, or my VP is asking for this type of stuff all the time, and fortunately we have a great reporting tool to do it. But at some point, when you grow and scale big enough that you have multiple products, then you've got to go up a level and have a program view over those products. And then ultimately, you've got to create a portfolio level view to give the execs what they need to be able to look top down and also push metrics up, right? Things like, how long is it taking for us to build our features and get them feature lead time or cycle time? How long is it taking us to get those to our customer? Things like that. And there's a lot of team metrics that the execs don't really need to know, because those are being handled at the team level. But as you grow and scale, the other thing that's really important is we have what we call Scrum of Scrum meetings, where we get representatives from different teams together so that we again create visibility across all the products. And here's the big one, and if you talk to some consulting firms, you'll get this. The biggest problem when you begin to grow and scale is dependencies, dependency management. When you have dependencies on other teams, internally or externally, it is a killer of progress. And so the goal is to identify the dependencies, remove them, and then manage what's left over. The guys I see on the call, they get it. It's a killer. So the reason we have to go above the team level is for that visibility, transparency, and dependency management. And then you can work in also the financials and resources as well. And we have tools to do that too. So did that help, Yvonne?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. Lou, I think did you have a question earlier?
I did, yeah. Well, thank you so much. Also, Kate and Yvonne, thank you for hosting it. And I guess you're talking about pain of change. I was thinking of, there's an old book called Ordeals of Change. So the sometimes changes, even you initiate yourself, don't end up for you. Sometimes when you're in power. So in some way, I'm still going in the same direction as Laura and Lennox was going, and it's sort of the question, where's the impetus for change? How maybe you can give a couple of examples. You mentioned Cisco or your company, NCR, right? So they are the, of course, they're a variety of company. I don't know, sometimes maybe it's a board called the shot, sometimes the executive. And also I'm known private company, basically one person called the shot. He may ask for change, as Lennox is, but he doesn't want to change. He wants to change everybody else. So can you give a couple of examples that, how did it happen? Like, how did it happen with Cisco? Like NCR, did they initially engage you for this, or are you already inside the company started? Well, the other, I try to sneak in another question, and I want you to talk a little about what kind of lessons that's not the proper way of saying it. What did you learn from coaching tennis that's applied for all of these? Yeah.
Oh, I love it, Lou. I love both questions actually. So the first one, the first one at Cisco. So we were in a waterfall development scenario, but again, we had poor quality. We had customers that yelled at us all the time. You asked for the impetus of change. That was basically it. I think somewhere our VP heard of Agile. This was 2013. I don't know where he heard about it, but he just came in one day and said, guys, we're doing Agile. Nobody, and what we did is we invested a solid year of training our team, a solid year, and that was huge. So I think the reason that we did it was we had poor quality, we had unhappy customers, we were slow to market, all the reasons that we talk about why you should be Agile, right? I'll give NCR an example, guys. NCR is a 140-year-old company. They were based in Dayton, Ohio. They moved to Duluth, Georgia in the 90s. Okay, number one, that was a big risk, right? All right, and then 3 years ago, they decided to move from the suburb of Duluth to Midtown Atlanta. Now, the perception of NCR was it was an old company, traditional, stuck in its ways. Yeah, they do some ATMs and kiosks and maybe old cash registers, if you remember those, right? But I saw a leadership team say, look, this is a very competitive space. They built a beautiful state-of-the-art, to date, the most state-of-the-art green building in Atlanta. And they moved the staff there. We're right across the street from Georgia Tech. The whole perception of who NCR has been totally renovated and changed. They're hiring more and more younger people, and that's awesome because they've got great ideas and great initiatives. So I think NCR saw it as a market. They needed to change because of the market, right? And they've done a phenomenal job. And I'm not just saying it because I work there. I'm really impressed with what they've done. And with that, with the leadership team, we've looked at all of our products. We've looked at, what are we going forward, in the market with, and we're making all those adaptations and changes. And Agile is a key part of all of it. Now, we're not there yet. We're not doing it perfectly. All the different businesses in NCR are probably doing it a little bit different, which is okay. But as long as we are implementing lean Agile mindsets across the organization, I think that's what's key. So to Lou, to answer your second question, I use that a lot. I've done some life coaching, tennis coaching, and now, Agile coaching, and it's all the same. It goes back to value number one, people over processes. When I have a tennis student on the court, it's all about how can I make this student better? It's not about how he or she hits the ball, perhaps. I'm going to give them the best practice, but, what's going to be best for them? What can I do to make them the very best they can be? And so and it's all about empowering. It's all about encouraging and motivating people. I think that's a huge part of being a coach, and no matter what space you're in. So anybody else? I know we're getting close to our cutoff time, but
I think I want to add something. I think you may have probably touched on this in the presentation. One of the things that I've noticed as well is when companies decide to go through Agile transformation, I think they need to definitely invest in the right tools, in the right, I guess, even maybe probably bring an outside, consulting company. I know I've actually, before I got to NCR, I was with another company that decided to go Agile, and they decided to do it themselves. And trust me, for about a year and a half, they were just Agile in name only. I think it was individuals who read the books and maybe went to a couple of seminars. Oh yeah, we could do this. Basically they were trying to save money. I've seen it a lot of times. Sometimes someone comes in and says, "We need to go Agile. Okay, let's see how we could do it the cheap way." Or the least expensive way. So this one individual decided that he's gonna read a couple of books and showed them how to do the ceremonies, and they really thought they were doing Agile. So yes, I think that's one thing that, again, when companies decide to go Agile, they have to be very kind of aware that you will have to make a significant investment, not only, from a financial aspect, but you're right, you mentioned the cultural aspect, the leadership, they themselves has to be totally bought in from every level. So I think that's one of the biggest things that's actually caused some transformations to fail. And then, as you know, Derwin said, when things go wrong, they just go back to their natural. Oh, let's go back to this. Agile is so Agile been getting a bad name for a while in certain companies just because of how the companies initially decided to implement Agile itself. Not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yep. Thank you, Lennox.
Yeah, if I may quickly, the one of the to Mariano's your question on finance, and to kind of add on to Lennox, an example that we're experiencing is a person who has used Jira before as a Scrum Master got placed into the company's internal Jira admin role, and while the intent was good and the heart was in the right place, being a Jira user does not necessarily mean you're a Jira admin. And so right now there's a lot of money being spent to try to get the right folks in place that we can utilize the tool not only in the best way, but in the way that makes sense for us as an organization. So it's an added expense of whatever that expense is. I don't know, but it is an expense that we're incurring. But if we're going to do it, we need to do it the right way. And so that is another factor that really should be considered if you're going to be not set up for failure and you're going to be set up for success. So just another kind of active example from my world anyways.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the role definition, and yeah, you got to be smart with the investments. Yeah,